we go. It's time to dance.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, I don't know about you, but I am really excited about today because for the first time ever in the history of the classroom, we are going to do a free webinar tonight at 7 p.m. That's tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, last time we got together, there was an issue with Facebook. Now it looks like there's an issue with YouTube. I have no idea what's going on, but all I know is that all of you get to share the good news about taking ownership for our life. There have been so many people that have come to me and have said, you know, Lily, I'd love to go to your workshop, or I'd like to go to your summit, but I don't have the time, or I don't have the finances. I am too busy. But the number one reason that people don't come, whether they say it or not, is fear. Fear of what they're going to discover. Fear of getting out of the comfort zone. Fear of maybe being accountable to a higher level of excellence. What about that? So today I'm asking you all, share this link. Share it with your friends, text the link, you know, in the bottom, if you're watching on Facebook, or let me see if YouTube, I think YouTube is doing a little bit better now. But if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and hit that share button. Hit that share button underneath, it's that little arrow, and share it onto your page. Share it onto your groups. Share it onto wherever you can, because we are the majority. We are the overwhelming majority that are tired of being told what to think, what to take, what to eat, when to eat, because we've been told a lot of things that may not be true, not for everybody, at least not for me. I can't imagine a doctor prescribing the same prescription to you, a guy, you might be 6'5", I am 5'6", you might weigh 300 pounds, and I weigh 120 pounds, that both of us have the same results by taking that one pill. But what else affects our life? So tonight we're going to be talking about this in the first ever free webinar. It's the Come Take Your Life Back free webinar, the I Am the Solution free webinar, free coaching free webinar, whatever you want to call it, whatever gets you over your objection, that's what you can call it. And then share it with your friends, tell your friends, because if you've already reserved a seat in the front row, you already have the Zoom link. But if you're tuning in today for the first time and you go, oh my goodness, I don't know anything about this workshop or webinar, I would love to be a part of it. Can I still join? And the answer is, would I turn you away? Could I turn you away? If you want to learn and grow with me, come on in. What you need to do is text me at 407-373-5959 and let me know that you want to be part of the webinar tonight. And that's 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to go from 7 to 9, or maybe 7 to 8:30, depending on how many questions you guys have, because I will stay as long as we answer your questions, or 9 o'clock, whichever comes first. And because, this is my time too. And I've been wanting to create balance. I am focused on creating balance and making sure that my weekends are play and my weeks are work. And sometimes I get to play during the week. So many things that we get to create. When we don't know what we don't know, we might think that we were handed a deck of cards that is called life. And the reality is that you control the deck. Well, God is in you, and God in you control the deck, if you understand what I'm talking about. So, Robert, I don't know if we're having some technical difficulties, but it happened last time. It happened last time, but don't worry about it. If you're watching this video and it's a little garbled, we'll just upload it, the one that I'm recording right now. So let's talk about one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on fear today. Is one of the sayings that I can't remember how long ago I started saying this, and I believe it's scriptural. It's in the Bible. And nothing good comes from fear. And so fear is the number one objection. Fear is the number one reason people don't grow. Fear is the number one reason that people decide not to do something or to do it. Because one of the things you need to know about fear is that many of the thoughts in our mind, we're going to talk about our mindset and what causes us to think a certain way. But we always, because we've heard negativity, don't do this, don't do that, you might get hurt, the dog might bite you, don't stick your finger in the outlet, don't do the thing, that fear was created to protect you. The fear was created to protect you. And so when you think about fear as a child, okay, it may have kept you out of trouble. But fear as an adult, it's keeping you from your greatness. And so many of us have traumas. Maybe you've had a charmed life, but you didn't get something you wanted, and that became a trauma. So there are different things that happen in our lives that cause the filters by which we see the world. And so with that in mind, we're going to be talking about these filters. How are these filters created? And what can you do to rewrite the programming in your head? So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. I'll be doing a presentation, about a half an hour, maybe a little bit more than half an hour. It all depends how much I want to add to the talk for today. But then after that, we get to kind of examine where we are in our life, what we've created in our life. And if we've created everything in our life, if we're responsible and take ownership for everything in our life, the good news is we can uncreate it. We can uncreate it. If we created it, we can uncreate it. And so let's continue focusing on fear. I remember getting a phone call from one of my kids, and they were offered out of college an incredible opportunity to have a draw and also be on commission. And it would have been a lucrative position, but there was a lot of risk involved. It was a new career. It was a new shift. It was a new opportunity. They had never done what they've done. And so they called me and they told me after their 5th interview that they got the job. Now, after getting the job, I asked, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to take the job? And they said to me, I don't know, mommy. I don't know, because, what if I don't like it? What if I get fired? What if I do this? I mean, every negative scenario was presented to me as reality. No, that's not reality. That is a thought in your mind. That's a thought in your head. So if you are doing what's the worst case scenario when making a change in your life, then maybe, and Dr. Paul Jenkins was talking about this as one of his greatest takeaways from being on my show, was being an equal opportunity realist. So instead of looking at the worst case scenario, which is fear, let's look at about the best case scenario, which is love. When you come from a place of love, then you will reach a different place than if you come from a place of fear. And some people say, well, the opposite of love is hate. And the opposite of love is fear. Hate is below fear. So when it comes to the frequencies and energy, it's like hate. There's opposite of love is fear. So there's hate and anger and bitterness and guilt and shame. Those are all underneath. There's a subset of fear. They're underneath it, that each time you go below the next level, it's a lower frequency. And those lower frequencies, those energies that allow you to feel a certain way, feel joy, which is a high frequency, and sadness, which is a lower frequency. But under there, because you can be sad and have joy at the same time. We just experienced that at a memorial service for my cousin. And we could be crying in one minute and laughing at another one. But when you're in fear, you can't experience duality of feelings. It's like fear and guilt and shame and blame and all those things when you're in that mode, because it just keeps going lower and lower and lower and lower in the frequency rating. And these frequencies are contagious. Anyway, going back to my story, I do remember what I was talking about. Going back to my story. So my child said, okay, let's go down that. I was glad they were happy to do this with me. So I said, okay, so let's suppose you're a huge success and you accept this position, you're a huge success. And maybe, a year goes by and you don't like it, or a year goes by and you decide that you got a better offer, or a year goes by and you get fired. Any of those years go by or time goes by. What would you learn? And so they started telling me all the tools, all the skill sets that would come from just saying yes to this position. By the time we were done with that what if scenario, so we eliminated fear from that scenario, they decided to take the job. And you know what? They loved the job. They were wildly successful for the job. And they inherited some incredible skills from that job. She later on left that job for another job. But just so that you know, if she would have stayed, or if they would have stayed in that scenario of the worst case fear, they wouldn't have taken a leap towards even trying it. Because the devil you know is sometimes better than the devil you don't know, right? And sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's good to work with what you have instead of starting over. So there's a time for everything. There's a time to run, and there's a time to dig in your heels and say, I'm sticking this out. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying, but if you have any questions, you can text me at 407-373-5959. Also, if you want to be a part of the webinar tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, you can either email me, like let's say, for example, you don't know how to text, you can email me. You can't send me a letter. If you don't know how to email or text me, I don't know. Maybe you can go on Facebook and send me a private message with your email address. I need your email address. Send me your name, your email address. That way we'll send you the Zoom link, because you won't be able to come into the webinar unless you have the Zoom link, okay? So here we go. It is so important that if you're going to be a realist, you don't use fear as the backdrop by what you call realism. Again, it's a thought. It hasn't happened. It's imaginary scenario. And yeah, you can always do the worst case scenario if you want, but you got to stop, say time out. Now I get to be a realist through the eyes of love. What's the best case scenario that can happen? We have two choices. Every decision that we make comes from two choices. It's either love or fear. And you're in choice. You can choose whatever you want. It's no skin off my nose. But for you, it might be a skin off your nose. It might be very painful. And that's the question I'm asked all the time as a coach, which is, how do I know what decision is right? How do I know I'm making the right decision in my life? And that decision could be very painful. But what is on the other side of that pain is what sometimes we don't see. And we'll be talking about that tonight as well. What's on the other side of that pain? And you get to look at everything. And if you're going to look at the worst case scenario, you owe it to yourself to look at the best case scenario. What could go right? Because chances are it will be. Because what you focus on is what you will create. And by the way, if you have any questions for me today, all you need to do is type in a Q and write the questions down. So somebody's asking about Dr. Day, talking about love. I absolutely love Dr. Day. Dr. Day is focusing on what she's doing. And so as of Valentine's Day, I announced that Dr. Day was going to be focusing on her projects. And I absolutely love her. I am excited for her. She's been doing a Bible study, and that takes a lot of her time. She's also writing books, and that takes a lot of her time. So you can go to Good News About God and all those wonderful places that she shares her news. And so going back to love and fear. So what are you afraid of? If I were what do you call those? A fairy? And I sprinkled pixie dust on your head. If I sprinkled pixie dust over your head and you became fearless, what would you want to do? What would you want to do? Write it down. If you became fearless, what would you want to do? So, what is your greatest fear? That's a question that we need to face, that we're going to face tonight. What would it look like if you had no fear? We're going to talk about that tonight. What is the other side of fear? That other side is the best case scenario, which is grounded and rooted in love. Now, I had a Christian tell me, I've been praying for a decision. I've been praying for a decision. I've been praying for a decision. They've been all the time keeping this decision to themselves. They've been keeping to themselves. They haven't been telling anybody else what they were praying for. They've not been praying for, they did not communicate with the other person that they had been praying for what to do. They did not even acknowledge the other person, but they were praying and praying and praying. But guess what? The person that they didn't communicate with, the person that they didn't even acknowledge, the person that was trying to help them out while they were praying for their decision, made the decision for them. No decision, and you can hide behind Christianity all you want, but no decision is a decision made from fear. Anytime that we, and I'm just going to stop using you because it's us, it's we, it's our. Because the only difference between you, your, and our is the why, is the why. Why are we separated? Why do we choose not to forgive? Why do we choose not to love unconditionally? Why do we choose to guilt and shame ourselves? We will all talk about this tonight. And of course, if you want to be a part of that, I am still opening up the doors. By the way, although it starts at 7, we start at 7, punctually start at 7. We will open the doors at 6:45. So when I say open the doors, I'm talking about the Zoom door. It means that you get your link, you click on the link. And by the way, if you want to watch on your phones, get the Zoom app. And I will show you what the Zoom app looks like. Hold on a second. I will show you. It looks, oh, sorry. I had it. And so I went ahead and let me just close it up here. I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this right here. It used to look like a little tape recorder, but now it looks like it just says Zoom. And I think you go to your apps, zoom.us, and you can download it on your phone. And that's the only way. Even if you took the link and you wanted to watch it on your phone, you couldn't unless you have the app. So make sure you download the app. So in order for us to be successful in doing anything, we must be prepared. You can't just show up at 7 o'clock when something's going to start at 7. So we will open the Zoom doors at 6:45, maybe a little earlier, who knows? But we're going to open it up. It'll be just get seated, get ready, get your notes, get your water, whatever it is that you need so that that time together will be well spent. So tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to really look at these things. Look at what's keeping me stuck. Fear. What liberates me? Love. How do we choose that? How do I choose love over fear? Show up tonight and you'll learn. And continue to listen and you'll learn. And sometimes I have to tell you this story. This is so cute. We had a woman come to the first, I believe she came to the first I Am the Solution workshop, which by the way is April 21st through the 23rd. We have a few seats available. So make sure that you, life is urgent. Make sure that if you want to attend, we have the early registration discount until March 31st, which is this Friday. And they attended the workshop. They enjoyed the workshop. And we have a small group that came out of the workshop, the first workshop, and we meet once a month. But they opted not to join the small group because we're in choice. Everybody's in choice. And so this person decided that they were going to attend the second one, the second workshop. They felt that they learned a lot on the first time they went, but they wanted to do it again because they knew they missed a lot. And we retain about 10% of what we hear anyway. So that's why I want everybody to write. I want people to be involved. If you have a question, type in a Q. All these different things that you can do to kind of increase your experience. So this beautiful, beautiful soul, at the end of the second workshop, she says, Lillian, I just have to tell you that I have never, oh no, this was after the first night. This is the first night, the Friday night. Says, Lillian, I have to tell you, I have never heard this before. I am blown away. I have never heard this before. And I said, oh, yes, you have. The first time you took the workshop, they were stunned that they missed all of those things. Why is it that we miss all this stuff? Because we're not present. We're not present. When I am presenting, speaking, when I'm doing the classroom, when I'm doing all these things, I need to be 100% present. I need to be in the moment. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. If I'm not present, which happened to me at a meeting not too long ago, I had to apologize because I was trying to, do this and do that on my phone while I was getting ready to start this meeting. And I missed their name. I missed their last name, their first name and last name. And I missed a lot of things that had I been present, I would have captured and written it down. So it's so important that we be in the moment and learn how to be in the moment. That's how you stop fear. Because when you are depressed, you are thinking about the past. You're trying to change the past, a past that is unchangeable. That's called depression. When you're focused on the future and you're ruminating and you're thinking about all the things that you're going to do, when am I going to get fired? What if I get this? What if I lose my job? What if I'm homeless? What if the worst case scenario? That is anxiety. So if you were to just be in the moment, be present in the now, then you would be able to eliminate a lot of chaos in your life, a lot of drama and trauma, a lot of angst. And that is called your ego. That is also called your ego. So what does the ego want? The ego wants us to be miserable. Miserable. If you are miserable and you look around your circumstances right now, and if your circumstances make you feel miserable, hopeless, anxious, depressed, then you can make that shift too. You're in your ego. And actually on Monday, we re-aired the class on that one. It's the ego versus essence class. So you may want to watch that one. If you are in any form of discomfort, then you're in your ego. I was in my ego a little while ago because I was frustrated about something that happens. And I just like, oh, I know, I recognize it. I recognize it because I was not accepting what is. So what did we do? We created something different and new. And that is our essence. That is love. Our essence comes from love. So if you look around and you're uncomfortable with what you see and you don't want to look at it, and maybe you're numbing, or and you can numb with sex, with drugs, with cigarettes, with vaping. You can numb with did I say drugs already? Shopping, eating. You can numb with those things too. It's not just putting a needle in your arm, kind of numbing. You could also be busy, numbing, busy at work, busy because you don't want to look at it. Because when you walk into it, there it is, that sweet reminder before you go to bed. There it is, that sweet reminder. And when you wake up in the morning, there it is, that sweet reminder. And we've got to hurry up and numb again, whatever it is that we need to do. But what if you were to stop that? What would your life be like if you were to just stop and say, ooh, that's my ego. So what is my ego doing right now? Okay, I want to be in control. That's my ego. Control. Wants to look good. I mean, when I say wants to look good, I'm not talking about in appearance as much as I am talking about yeah, I'll come over later on, or I'll call you at 5 o'clock, and 5 o'clock comes and doesn't come, and next day comes and you never call. That's looking good. I want to tell you what you want to hear. I'm a people pleaser, and I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, but I have no intention. So in control, looking good, comfortable. Now, keep in mind that there are people that get beaten every night, and that's their comfort zone. How do you get out of your comfort zone? You do something different. You get out of it. You step into something greater than your comfort zone. Nothing good. I mean, there are certain things that are good to be comfortable. I'm not talking about those things. Like right now, I'm wearing shorts. I'm comfortable, but that's not an egoic comfortable. If I were to say to you, I don't need to grow, I know it all, that's comfortable. That is fear. Ego is in fear all the time. So I said, control, looking good, comfortable, and being right. It is amazing how being right will affect our life. Sure, you're right, but at what cost? At what cost are you willing to be right all the time? So when you are looking at discomfort, you can go to the ego and say, okay, which one's taken over right now? And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about the ego and how we can set ourselves free from the ego. So it is important that you choose to be in your essence. And again, last week's course on the ego versus essence, I did that, I think, on Thursday or Wednesday. But it recorded again. It recorded again on the watch party for Monday. Ego versus essence. Our ego can kill us. Our ego makes us miserable all the time. The song of the ego is, I don't get no satisfaction. And if that sounds how you're feeling right now, text me at 407-373-5959. You can email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com and join us tonight for the free webinar at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We start at 7, so get in the classroom, get into the Zoom meeting by 6:45 so that you're seated, can get your water, go to the bathroom, empty out your bladder, whatever you need to do, set yourself up for success. I always recognize the people that are like at the last minute, they're just coming in. They're like a little hurricane coming in. I used to be like that. I remember some of the biggest arguments my husband and I would have is before we would go on vacation, because I like to take my time. I like to take my time. And there's nothing wrong with taking my time. But if I'm still taking my time, when we have a time schedule, that affected my husband. We had two different ideas of what being on time was until we sat down and we figured it out. I needed to start getting ready earlier, which I knew that. I do that all the time. But when it came to traveling, my idea of on time was different. So once you communicate that, it is so important that there be an agreement and that agreement be honored. So now when my husband says we need to leave at 7, I'm going backwards and I give myself an extra 15 minutes just to buffer whatever. And many times he's standing at the door going, okay, what's going on? When are you coming out? So we made an agreement that if he needs to leave early, if he wants to be there earlier, he can leave without me and I'll take my car. So you come together and you create what works for you. And you know what? He never had to do that. He never had to do that because once you realize how something is important to somebody else, you work at creating something different and new. So what's on the other side? What is on the other side of fear? Could it be greatness? Could it be new love, joy? What's on the other side of fear? Have you ever thought of it? Have you ever thought, what's causing the fear? Where did that fear come from? What happened? The first time you recognized that feeling, what age were you? At what age did you feel that fear for the first time? That's important, believe it or not. So what are you going to do about it? I know fear is fear, but what you're afraid of is the thought of what could go wrong. Think about it. How insane is that? What if it goes right? What if it goes right? What if you discover that you are greater than you thought you were? What if you discover that I am is in you, is in me, is in your children? What if? Do you want to spend your entire life saying, what if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? I was asked a question by someone. We proposed a question in this group that I belong to. What would you change in your life right now? And we all, it was like, as we were like, it was the first time I had ever thought of that. What would I have changed in my life at that moment? As I thought back at some of the things that I had done, some of the things that had happened as a result, some of the consequences, because everything has a consequences, whether I do it or I don't do it. Some of them are good consequences and some of them are not so good consequences, but regardless, there's always a consequence. And as I started thinking about everything, the only thing I could come up with that I would change, and I think I've always had this, but fear became greater than my knowing that I could trust God in everything that I do in life. That God had a plan. And that was the only thing I could think of, because I can go back and say, well, if I would have gotten married, if I wouldn't have married for the first time, and I would have waited for my current husband, we've been married for 29 years. But if I would have not married him, then I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't change that. If I didn't accept that job, I wouldn't have gotten the skills that I have today. Or if I didn't volunteer, I wouldn't have the skills that I have today. If I wouldn't have gone through that horrible, bitter divorce, or issues with loved ones, or arguments with special friends, I wouldn't have learned what forgiveness is all about. So that's when I realized there's no mistakes, only growth opportunities. But guess what happens? You get your diploma. We get our diploma. And all of a sudden, we've arrived. We know it all. We don't need to go, we don't know, but wait. You have to continue in education for your trade, for medical school, for your law school, for, whatever. Teachers, they have to do continuing education. Okay, so I guess we haven't arrived that much. So we got to go and do all these things once a year. You sign up, you get the credits that you need to. But what happens to your emotional side? What happens to that kid that graduated from high school, goes through college, and then goes through life and doesn't have the opportunity to get continuing education credits for their spirit and soul. What happens? When was the last time you chose to grow emotionally, spiritually? When was the last time you picked up a book on personal growth or picked up the Bible? There's a lot of lessons in the Bible. Romans 2, I believe it's Romans 2, that says you see in others who you are. That wasn't created by a guru or some thought person that said, oh, you see in others who you are. Psychology? No, that's in the Bible. You see in others who you are? What? You mean the gossiper that I'm gossiping about is me? What? It's nonsense. It's games that we play. It's the limiting belief that says, oh, if you go to a psychiatrist, you're crazy. If you go to a psychologist, you're crazy. Something wrong with you. But what if everything is right with you and you just get to appreciate it? What if you just need to tweak things a bit, change the way you look at things? I always quote, because it was life-changing for me. I've said this before and I'll say it again, that when I was younger, the only books I ever read was personal growth books. But here's the deal. I read them to help other people. What? I needed to grow too? It wasn't until I was given the privilege of hosting the Lillian McDermott show, radio show, that I said to myself, if I want others to grow, I must grow too. Grow by example. And that's when my life started changing. Because when I heard Wayne Dyer quote, somebody he didn't know who it was, Max Planck, by the way, say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Think about it. What do you need to change in your life? I know that I'm constantly growing and changing. I love, maybe I put my heels down at first and go, oh, I don't want this. We're human, but those are quick to resolve itself and go back into my essence and say, okay, I am the solution. The I am is my higher power that is everywhere, everywhere. And that means that I am is in you and in me and in everybody that surrounds you. It is delusional to think that you're the only one that possesses all the answers. It is delusional for me to think that I am the only one that possesses all the answers. That is delusional. That is maybe even narcissistic. Allow yourself the opportunity to be wrong. To be wrong. Yes, it's okay to be wrong. And that is called being human. And when you're wrong at something, that means you have the opportunity to learn something new. Yay! You have the opportunity to learn and grow. So what are you being called to do today that may cause a little fear, may cause a little, that little thing in your heart? I mean, when I look back at the things that I've done in my life, I marvel. I go, wow, how could I have done this? I look back now and I think about singing. What you guys don't understand, maybe, is that I am shy. I'm a little shy girl. I grew up a little shy girl, and that was the whole story that I told myself. But I'm shy. But then I would dance and I would perform ballet, jazz, tap, modern ballet, and I wanted to be on stage as a rockette. That was my dream. But that dream ended. And then I thought, well, I'm going to be wheeled out of this dream. I'm going to go down with the dream. But the dream was causing too much pain in my body. And then I thought, you know what? This is at 16. I'd rather walk out of this than get wheeled out of this. So I walked away from dance, but I still dance. We dance on the show every day. I dance almost every day of my life because it is so important. Movement is so important. And when you get stuck, then your body starts to hurt, your knees start to hurt. You do the Macarena of the growing old. Oh, my shoulders, my back, oh, my hips, my knees. Hey, Macarena. So it is important that we move. And as a shy girl, I got it. But I wasn't shy when I was there. I did it. And it wasn't that I had to think about it. I didn't even think about it. When they told me, we'd like for you to have your own radio show, I could have said, oh, but I'm shy. Or when I started singing at church as a cantor, oh, I'm shy. When I was handed the radio show, oh, I'm shy. If I would have continued to believe that I am shy and would have nurtured my shyness, instead of saying, I don't like being shy. I want to do something different with my life. I don't want to be labeled shy. So what can I do? And you know what? God has surprised me every step of the way. When I was going through one of my most recent darkest times, which was not knowing if my implants were ruptured after the car accident in 2017. For 9 months, I did not know. But I had to trust that God had me. And everybody would say, are you worried about the surgery? Are you worried about the surgery? And I'd say, I haven't thought about the surgery. I'm focused on the healing. Because when you learn how the mind works, and you learn that the I am in you is so much greater than your fear, then you can do all things with God who gives you strength. So if I've said something today that has made you go, I am a bit curious, instead of critical of all those people that do all those things, and, because that comes from fear. That comes from the ego. That will make you miserable. Any of you rejoice when something harmful happens to other people? I'm so glad that happened. They deserve it. That just falls back on you. Just be careful what you wish onto others, because it all comes back to you. The good, the bad, the ugly. So today we're talking about fear and love. How to overcome fear is to love yourself, to trust the God in you, the I am in you. And listen, I'm not here to push God on you or Jesus on you. I'm here to say there's a higher power. What you call that higher power is not my mission. My mission is to tell you about a higher power. And I'll tell you about my higher power, but I don't have to be right. I don't have to belittle you or shame you into the way you believe. However, I know you will come to your own truth. And when you trust that intuition in you, when you trust that God is going to give you everything, that higher power is going to give you everything you need, and all you got to do is prepare, as Jesus saw the paralytic man who sat by the pool for 38 years. Jesus could have healed him from afar. But no, Jesus had a conversation with him. Jesus said, "Hey, do you want to be healed?" I'm paraphrasing. And the paralytic man said, "Yes." But before he said yes, he gave all the reasons and excuses why he hadn't jumped in the pool when the bubbles came up. Somebody else came in before him. He wasn't prepared. Listen, I would have been at the edge of that pool waiting for those bubbles because I could have dragged or rolled myself there. For 38 years, I could have done something other than sat in the same place waiting for someone to bring me my joy, to bring me my healing. I could have rolled there and waited there, and I saw the bubble and I would have plopped myself in. That's what I would have done. But that's not what they did. Not here to judge it. I'm saying that that's what we do. We wait and we blame others for our lack of joy. It's my spouse's responsibility. It's my children's responsibility. It's my neighbor's responsibility to bring me joy. And that is not true. Because even in the Bible, Jesus said to the man, "Then pick up your mat and walk." Jesus could have levitated him, could have healed him, could have thrown him in the pool. He could have done anything. But he asked him to pick up his mat. And that requires for you to have love and be in your essence, because the ego will say, "No, you pick it up for me." That is what the ego will do to us. It will kill us. It will make us sick. So I'm asking you, what can you do today? I'm going to, this is a scripture. I have to tell you, I do this little meditation every morning. I get one every year, and I get a new one, and it's a daily meditations. And the one today was musical expression. It was actually talking about dancing and the importance of dancing. And I thought, okay, well, this is pretty good. I'm doing that, and we talk about this in the classroom all the time. But then I thought yesterday I had to go. I had a really busy day and had to travel to faraway places to get some testing done and all that. And so I didn't get to see yesterday's. And this is the scripture from yesterday that I missed, but not today. I saw it today. It's from 1 Peter 4:8. And this is the NIV version of the scripture. It says, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins." That's your essence. Your ego cannot do that. There needs to be an egoectomy, which is what I called for last week when I did the show. And the way you can do it is by picking up your mat. Join us today at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You must text me or email me your email address and your name so that we can invite you via Zoom. If you'd like to watch it on your phone because you don't have a computer, you can upload the app on Zoom and you can start your journey. Set yourself up for your success. Roll yourself to the pool so that you can be the first one in the classroom tonight at 6:45 when we open the doors. Pick up your mat and walk. You want to be fearless? You can do it. I believe in you. You can do all things, especially when God is in you. And you call on that God, because God can do all things. If I had a speck of that power in me, I can do all things. And I know you can too. And I hope you will join us at the first ever free webinar at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
I am so excited I got to share it with you today. For those of you who fear is keeping you, and every decision that keeps you from doing something that you know is going to change your life for the better, if you keep yourself, that comes from fear, whether it's finances, fear, whether it's time, fear, whether it's my husband won't let me, my wife won't let me, fear, whether it's I just don't have the time, fear. Make the time. You deserve this time. Now, again, I mentioned that this is the first ever free webinar. I hope it's one of many, but I don't know. Right now, it's the only one. If you want to be a part of this epic time, then I encourage you to text me at 407-373-5959, or you can email me at lily@whenyounneedafriend.com and start your journey. When they ask me, how do I know I made the right decision to finish that story that I started? My answer to them is because you took the step. Just take the steps. Text today, 407-373-5959. Email me at lily@whenyounneedafriend.com. And we will see you tonight. Hope to see you. Bye.